In this video, you're going to learn how to lay out your interior walls. And one thing you want to remember when doing your interior walls is that you're not creating spaces within a space. You're dividing space. You're taking this one whole space and you're dividing it into different spaces to make different areas of the home, like sleeping areas and service areas and living areas. Another thing to remember also, and of course this is really where some of your design senses start to come in, and when you're doing the layout, is you're thinking in terms of these spaces. You're also thinking in terms of accessing these spaces, and you want all of this together to look like it's been something that's been planned, not something that's just been thrown together. So it has to have rhyme and it has to have reason. Now, the way I like to do my interior walls, and there's several ways you can do them. You can just outright draw them, or you can use a series of offsets. And because I use a series of offsets, I'm going to show you how to do those. And while I'm at it, I know in the last video I wasn't very clear about which tools I was using. Hopefully you didn't get too confused. But I've been using it for so long, I tend to forget stuff like that. But if you were watching closely, you would have seen it. But I was using the line tool to draw lines, and then I used the offset tool to offset these lines to make the interior lines. Okay, so those are the two tools I've used thus far. I'm going to use mostly the offset tool in this video, and I'll probably use what they call the fillet tool, but you'll make corners with this fillet as well as rounded corners. So sharp 90-degree corners and rounded corners. I may even use the trim. But it's not just trim, it's also, if you pull down the little pull down arrow, it's trim and extend. So we're going to use those tools, and we're going to learn how to make some interior walls. Now, one of the simplest things to think of or imagine when you're doing this is think of a grid type system. Some people actually, when they're doing a floor plan like this, once they get their outer shell, they actually go in and start placing grids at most of the major wall intersections. But I don't do that. I use this one method of offset. Now there's also a measuring tool. That's another tool we're going to use, and I'm fixing to use it right now because I want to take a look at some of my measurements. So I'm going to click on the measurement tool right here. I'm going to bring it over, and it's really neat the way it works. This is actually brand new, the way this works. As you see, as I move, it's giving me a west-east and a north-south dimension. And what I'm looking for is the west-east dimension of this leg of my house down here at the bottom left. And it says it's 10 foot 4 3/8. Now, I drew it about 10 feet wide, that leg about 10 feet wide or a little more, on purpose, purposely knowing that I was going to put some minor rooms in that area of the home, and keeping in mind the size that I wanted those rooms. For one, I keep in mind the code minimum. I keep that in mind, and I also keep in mind the fact that I really want to go a little bit larger than that anyway. So I've got 10 feet 4 3/8, which is a great width for a bedroom. Now what I want to do is start establishing, dividing this space up. And over here I'm going to make minor rooms and a bathroom for those minor rooms. And of course, that bathroom must also be accessible to my guests and things like that in the house who may come to visit. Okay, so and what I mean by using a series of offsets, what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this offset tool right up here. All right, and you see that it gives you an option here, and this is what we call the dynamic input. The instruction that it has next to my cursor says specify offset distance. I am going to specify a distance for offset, and I want, I'm thinking, how wide I want. It's already 10 foot 4 inches. So I'm thinking maybe 9 feet would be good. Okay, so that would be a pretty good sized room. And then of course I click the enter button on my keyboard and it accepts that. So now I just offset that like so. And I'm probably going to do the same for this bedroom up here. I mean, it seems only fair that they both be, you know, relatively the same size. They don't have to be. You can make them different sizes. And as I do this, you'll see that the whole plan starts to kind of morph out. And even though that this is intended to mark this bedroom up here in the upper left-hand corner, it also may be used to mark other rooms in the home. So let's just kind of go with that for right now. Now I also want to offset this line, but I'm actually I'm gonna copy that line instead of offsetting it. I'm gonna click on the copy tool right up here. It says copy. I'm gonna click on that and I'm gonna come in, and as you see again, the dynamic input shows, it says select objects. So it wants me to select the object that I want to move, or actually copy and move. So I'm going to click there, and then I got to click enter to basically accept that selection. All right, now it says specify base point. Basically what it's telling me there is to specify a point for which I would like to move that line. Where do I want the handle to be? I'm going to click right down here because I'm going to go and match this line right up here with this corner. Okay, now that's part of my hallway. And while I'm at it, I'm also, well, no, I took that back. I'm going to just offset that line to make my wall thickness. Of course, the walls have to have thicknesses. So I'm going to offset, and these are interior walls, so I'm going to offset 4 inches. Okay, so I'm going to offset this one to the right. And when you offset, sometimes, just like it did there, even though I was dragging to the right, it bounced back to the left. Be careful with that. Just kind of undo it if it does something that you don't want it to do. Sometimes zooming in closer helps. All right, so I'm going to click on that again, and dragging to the right, it'll copy that line 4 inches to the right. Okay, so that is the start of my hallway that's going to be in this area. Now I'm going to also add that same offset distance to this wall and this wall. Okay, and just kind of dragged them both towards the inside to represent that wall thickness. And of course, now these 2 bedrooms, I'm thinking they need closets. So in order to create closet space, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to do an offset. However, I'm going to change my offset distance. I'm going to click on the offset tool, and it still says 4 inches. Now, if you're curious as to how big a closet is, go home and measure one. That will help you out quite a bit. They range anywhere from 2 to 3 feet, some even bigger if it's a walk-in closet. You know, but there's all different sizes of closets. I'm going to do this one 2.5 feet. Now you can type inches in here as well. I didn't do it because I know that AutoCAD will interpret what I just put in there, and it was just easier to do. Okay, so I'm offsetting that one, and this one needs a closet as well, so I'm going to offset this line. All right, now both of those lines need to be offset again 4 inches. And of course, you know, you can figure out a method for doing this so that you're not bouncing back and forth. This is just the best way that I can think to really show you how to do it. But as you get going, you'll come up with a method, and you'll just kind of zip right through it. But again, I'm going to offset those 4 inches. I'm going to set them also. Well, that one just kind of bounced to the other side like I didn't want. Okay, so those are my closets. And the bathroom's going to go right here in between. And I need some hallway space here. This is going to be actually the outer hallway wall right there. A wall that's also being used to divide this bedroom from this space over here. So I can actually, with this one, I can select both, do an offset, and do 36 inches. And select object. Okay, I guess I have to select them now. It won't let me select both. Too bad. So I'll just have to do them separately. Select them separately. Okay. And now that kind of establishes my hallway. I want to extend these two lines until they meet this wall right there. So I'm going to go to the Extend tool. I'm going to click on that. And I'm just going to click the enter button to accept all objects as extend points. Okay. That's basically, if you look in the dynamic input, it says select all objects, and then it has these greater than, less than arrows on each side of the word select all. What that means is you can hit the enter button and it just turns everything into an extension boundary. Okay, and you see as I hover over that line, it extends it to the next point. Okay, and it says select object to extend or shift select to trim. And we're just going to extend, so we're going to click on that. Okay, now of course you saw there, if I hover over it a second time, it wants to go to the next point. Okay, so you can just keep clicking if you wanted to go all the way through. Now it's time to clean up some things here. Now I'm not going to take you through the entire house design of what I'm doing, but I am going to show you how to clean up your work. And when I do come back for the next video, you'll see that I have all of my rooms located at that time. But to clean up, what we want to do is get rid of lines that are overdrawn. We also want to clean up our wall joints. I'll show you how to do that. So I'm going to start with the trim tool, which is right here. And again, it has that select objects or hit the enter button to select all. So I'm going to hit the enter button to select all. And I'm just going to start trimming. You can even do crossing windows to trim lines. And you see here I'm trimming these wall joints right there. So that's the way your walls should look everywhere they join. Not with a line through them like it was before, but just basically empty space to show that those walls are structurally joined together. And I just kind of keep going through, cleaning up all of these and anywhere else that I do not want those lines to be. Sometimes you have to kind of take a second look at it and try to figure out what it was you were trying to do to begin with. Okay, so I'll just kind of keep going like that until I get all of them done. So you can do that now. I kind of do a little bit as I go, like I'm doing right now. Some people will wait until they finish their every single wall in there and then go back and clean them all up. To me, that's just a little bit harder. It gets a little bit more confusing that way with all the extra lines that you end up with. But I'll show you what it looks like cleaned up when I come back for the next video.